So, really warm welcome to this intro of writing from the body. Just want to say I'm recording this on speaker view, so welcome also for anyone who's watching this afterwards. And there might be a few more people joining us. So, just to orient you a little bit, we've got an hour this evening. I will be sharing a little bit about the path of writing from the body, how I got there, what we will be doing. I will be also introducing a little exercise that you can play with whether you come on the course or not. And we'll be starting in a moment with just a little exercise to ground, to arrive in the present moment. And there will be space for Q&A towards the end, 15 minutes. So if you have questions, you can always pop them in the chat box, but you can also hold on to them and ask them at the end. I also will be staying on for a little while if you wanted a one-to-one chat. And to say, if you do want to join the Q&A and want to speak and don't want this to be recorded, just let me know and then we can switch the recording. So my first invitation, and everything here tonight is an invitation, is to just settle yourself a little. And how that could look like is just if you sit in a chair or somewhere where you have something to lean on and into, just to lean back for a moment. And just take a few breaths, maybe a little deeper than you usually breathe, maybe a little longer. And if it speaks to you, you might want to put your hands somewhere on your body, somewhere that feels good or neutral, could be anywhere. See it a little bit as a resource, place to return to. And if that feels comfortable, you might want to close your eyes or have a soft gaze. And just notice gravity, how actually we're not floating through space, we're held and supported by gravity. If you have your feet on the floor, just feel your soles of the feet. And then for a moment, really lean back and into whatever you're sitting on, with this idea of leaning into support. So feel your back, the length of your back and the breadth of it, and your spine that holds and supports you. And just lean back with this sense of support, feeling supported. And then just notice what is moving in your body and how you feel in your body. And also a little opportunity to just for a minute or so give your body what it might need just now. It could be anything, might be really still, could be a squeeze, could be something to shake out, might be a yawn. You might check all these places where we often tense up. So jaw, neck, shoulders. And with this sense of just gathering yourself in. Maybe your day is quite new, maybe you're at the end of the day, but just the sense of arriving in the moment, gathering yourself up from whatever's been happening before and arriving in the present moment. So notice emotions. Know that whatever you're feeling is welcome here. And then you might just take one deep breath and maybe a big stretch and open your eyes. So another warm welcome to you. So my intention for tonight is that this is a nourishing and inspiring hour. And of course that it will whet your appetite for the 12-week Writing from the Body course. And so a little bit about this. So I've been developing this methodology for about 7-8 years, and have been working mainly over the first few years in workshops in England and Scotland and in Austria. And when the pandemic hit, I put the work online, not knowing whether it would work at all. And what happened was amazing, because we could work in quite a different way, a way that allowed us to really drop very, very deep. And the one feedback I got consistently is how well this actually worked, that people had possibility to regulate, keeping the camera on, keeping it off, working in one's own space. And the other feedback was that we were diving deep, but people were saying, gosh, we just touched the tip of the iceberg. So these were 4-week or 6-week courses. And of course, when we attend to two such big areas, the body and writing, it is vast. So I'm so excited to now being able to offer this 12-week writing adventure, which starts next week on the 12th. We will be running 6:30 to 8:30 as live Zoom sessions. That's UK time. And it's stretched over 13 weeks. So I was saying, I would love to hear where you are calling in from, if you wouldn't mind to put that in the chat box. And also, what brought you to this? What interests you about writing from the body? So just a little bit about myself. I'm living in Saltine, a place near Brighton, on the south coast of England. I'm a writer and author. I write historic fiction. I've written and published 2 historic novels, and now writing an erotic novel and a poetry collection. And I've worked throughout my life as a performance artist and an art therapist in mental health. I've trained as a breathwork practitioner and also as a sexological body worker and sex coach. And I'm mentioning this because this methodology really has been drawing from a lot of different areas. So breath work has informed my work, my methodology, how I develop performance work, art therapy. So, but what is it, and why writing from the body? So historically, I've always had an interest in both the area of embodiment, so maybe dance, yoga, 5 rhythms, and also writing. But those areas were really kept quite separate. It was quite a compartmentalized thing. So very often I would go, like a lot of people, cold to writing. So, might be getting up, opening the laptop, hunched over, starting to write. And I want to say there's nothing wrong with this, and often great writing comes from this. But what I noticed when I started to work with embodiment and come from that to writing, that the writing had a whole different quality. So what might happen was that I would have a breathwork process and then go into free writing, or would have a deep 2 hour um, five rhythms journey and then dive into writing. And the quality of the writing, what I could touch there, just felt very different. And that made me very curious. And so over the years, I developed different entryways into writing through the body. And the other thing I noticed is that often even a little goes a long way. And by that, I mean to just take 5 minutes to consciously breathe and go into writing, to take a little time to stretch, to do some yoga practice, and then come to the writing, to move, to have a meditation practice, to do some inner listening. So lots of different embodiment practices. Sometimes it takes only a little bit of that to really open a different writing up. The other thing, of course, is that everything we ever experience in our lives, we experience through our bodies, right? Bessel van der Kolk has this phrase, the body holds the score. And that's not just about trauma, but that's about everything we ever experience. So that as well, this idea of the moment we connect with our bodies, we can tap into these stories that lie in our tissues, in our blood, in our cells, our DNA, and possibly also our ancestral history. And for me, this is really exciting. And I have found that through these practices, we can really excavate and mine those stories. Suzette Clow says, she's a writer and a painter, your body is the root of all creative work. When you paint or write with the whole of yourself, you're in touch with the universe inside your body. Everything you've ever felt, heard, seen, or thought, and is yet to become, exists inside of you. So very often we've just been writing, or mainly been writing from the mind. And writing from the body is an invitation to write from the body, from the wholeness of who we are. And I also want to say that, of course, sometimes it's uncomfortable to be in our bodies. There's a lot of reasons why that might be. Can be trauma, can be body shame, can be dysphoria, many, many reasons. And I really want to acknowledge that. And I want to say this work, you're really, really encouraged to take it at your own pace. It's trauma informed. So I will always encourage you to really find your own pace with this. And it is a beautiful way of establishing or re-establishing this connection with our bodies. So I want to read you something that I've written that describes in a bit more grit about writing from the body. When we write from the body, we write from the bodily home we inhabit in this life. We might from a black body, a queer body, a white or mixed race body, a non-binary body, or a genderqueer body, an able-bodied body, an immunocompromised body, a fat body, an agile body, an ill or dying body, a body in love and rapture, a relaxed body, a resilient body, or any possible combinations of these. Writing from the body means writing our memories, stories, and the stories of our ancestors, which we carry in our bodies, in our bones and blood. It means becoming aware of assumptions about our own bodies and of others' bodies, and confronting prejudice and judgment we might hold. Through writing from the body, we have a chance to find compassion, kindness, care, and love for our bodies as we give space to our body's voice. And we might have ignored the voice of our body for many reasons, and maybe for a long time. Writing from the body is an opportunity to release expectations and pressure to be anything else than who we are, and to truly listen to what our bodies have to tell us and want to share. Writing from the body, we can slowly, gently allow ourselves to listen, to allow ourselves to feel, to honor and hold holy our bodies, and ultimately to come home to ourselves, to live in peace with our bodies. And it's a deep journey. And we do this in community. And this, for me, is one of the most important pieces. You know, when we share in community, we can shed shame, we can shed whatever doesn't serve us anymore. And this has been, from my experience, one of the big power of this group. So I'm going to show you a few slides just to talk a little bit what actually happens in the 12-week course. Let's see. It's not showing up. How strange. Here we go. So it is a journey into the wisdom of the body. I think there's tremendous wisdom in our body. And we tap into the body for inspiration and authentic original writing, because when we tap in, that's where our authenticity lives. So we're starting with resourcing and orienting. It's a bit like, you know, when we go on a big journey, what we need is a compass. We need resources. So this is where we start. In the second session, and also throughout the 12 weeks, we will be tending to the nervous system and really look how our patterns show up in our lives, but also in our creative process, and find ways to work with this. So we might address writer's block, procrastination, and what we can do about it through the body. Be working with movements, and all the practices we do are totally adaptable. So when I say movement, it hasn't got to be big dance, can be very subtle movement, any abilities. For any abilities, this is possible. There will be a session on breath work, and also again, breath will be a thread woven through the sessions. Breath work's a beautiful, powerful technique to work with We'll be attending to our senses, wake those up to tune in, and deep listening journeys. So there will be inner body journeys, writing from there, different organs, attending to the system of the gut. And of course, the body has so many metaphors, and we'll be looking at the body as a symbol system and an encouragement to really find our very own metaphors, our unique metaphors in the body. Be looking at body cartography, marks that we hold on the body as landscape, the idea of rewilding our spirit, rewilding our body, and through that, rewilding our writing. Really feeling ourselves being part of nature. Resistance will be a theme because we cannot engage in the creative process without sometimes at least bumping up against that. Be looking at our deep essence, our skeletal system. There will be a session on the sensual and neurotic body. And yeah, just to say, this is, it's very dear to my heart that this is, we celebrate all bodies and all writing. All this happens in community, and there's usually a beautiful sense of camaraderie as we go on this journey. So how can writing from the body support writers? So first of all, the body will support us to ground. We always start with some grounding practice like we did today. Find presence, breath, we'll drop in the body. And even that is a powerful antidote to blocks, because if we're really arriving in the present moment, we are ready. We're ready to start. And as I mentioned, we'll be looking at nervous system patterns and how they show up in writing, and finding strategies to self-regulate and deal with things like anxiety, procrastination, our inner critics. So writing from the body and how it's structured, it's going to help you to build a writing practice that's sustainable. Through moving the body, we might get unstuck in our writing. If we flow, we will find flow in our writing too. Breath work is a beautiful way to access inspiration and also really dissolve and transform resistance. There's a little ebook I've written on 7 delicious ways how breathwork can support writers that you can download. We will be engaging all senses. And when we really tap into our senses, we find inspiration that is beyond cliches in these sensory details. So we're looking to dive in deeper than the surface in our writing. And this is where fresh and original writing can come up, and our authentic voice. We listen to the stories and the wisdom of our body. I also have one session on voice. So literally our speaking voice, metaphorically what happened to our voice, and the writing voice. rewilding. So this is the sense of really nourishing the aliveness of our bodies to find flow and expansion in our writing and in our lives. And of course, inspiration is a big area. As we tap into the body, we find inspiration. One thing I noticed again and again in this work is that there's confidence that grows as we embrace the uniqueness of our bodies. We develop a confidence in our writing, and one supports the other. So, like I said in the beginning, a little goes a long way, and that's something you'll be practicing here again and again. You know, we do an exercise and you can bring this straight into your lives and into your writing. To write in community counters isolation, fears we might have, you know, of criticism, not being good enough. We can learn from one another. And as I said, you know, this work really fosters camaraderie and solidarity. So how this works and what's included is you get 12 two-hour live sessions on Zoom. So it's this time, 6:30, but 2 hours to 8:30, and that's British summertime. It's stretched out over 13 weeks. There will be a 1-week break. And it's going to be an intimate group of maximal 12 folks. Each of the sessions are pretty self-contained. So you learn in each session something else. So it's not, if you miss a session, it's not all built on the session before. And if you miss a session, there will be recordings of the content and the exercises to download. Everything will be held in a platform called Teachable, where you can download everything over the weeks. And one thing it's very exciting, you get one coaching session with me as well that you can take any time through the course up to a month afterwards, and you can use that in any way. You can use it to start a project, to talk with me about how you can apply the methodology to a project that you might already work with. You're super welcome to bring a project, but you also equally don't have to. There will be always suggestions for home play, homework to dive deeper into a theme. And you get lots of course material. There's a writing from the body workbook, literature list, resources, writing prompts, and you can keep all this, of course. We'll have a private Facebook group throughout the course and afterwards. And there's an opportunity, if you wanted that, not everybody might want that, but to have an accountability body. You get some ebooks, and I'm running a Wild Write group. That's a 4-week group that's running every 4 weeks, and you get access to one of those for free. I'm running these 12 weeks twice a year, and as a really special bonus, you can repeat this whole program in the next round for a fee. There's an admin fee, and that includes another coaching session. The whole course is 777, everything included. And if you wanted to book today or for the next 24 hours, you get a reduction, and it's 680. I'm really always wanting to make sure folks can access this. So I'm very happy to work with a payment plan up to 6 months. In that case, you just pay a deposit, and then the 680 will divide into, yeah, manageable chunks. So now I would like to offer a little exercise before we go into Q&A. So that takes about 20 minutes. What I'll do is I'm going to play 2 songs for you, and you can keep your camera on or switch it off. And the invitation is to just move to these tracks. They're quite different. And really drop into your body, give yourself a lot of breath, and see where in your body you feel drawn to. So move through your body, but there might be one area that you might return to in your consciousness again and again. So stay there for a little bit. And then after these 2 songs, I'll give you some free writing time. Probably just good 5 minutes. And the invitation there is just put pen on paper and let what flows from the body onto the page. And then there's a second part to it that I will introduce then. Is that all right? Is that clear? Cool. So let me share the sound. So thank you. And you find all my info on my website. It's evaweaver.com. And drop me an email if you have any questions. Take care.